Would you mind pulling up your reservation confirmation just so I can see it?
In case I'm some kind of weirdo who's broken in here to sleep.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And today we are doing one of probably my top 3 of 2022, which isn't saying that much when you think about how many horror movies there's been, but hey, it's saying something because it's up against some bangers that we've done this year.
2022's been a great year.
Yeah,
for
22
horror.
has been a good year.
It's been we've had Fresh, we've had X, we've had Pearl. Those are my other favorites.
Scream.
Right?
We've had
Scream.
We've had Scream. Oh my God, there's a ton of other ones I'm not even mentioning right now.
Now that we just reminded you of some of the movies, do you maintain top 3? Think about it. Come back to us.
I think maybe, yeah. I like it better than Pearl.
Wow.
I like it better than Pearl. And maybe it's definitely in the top 5. It's definitely in the top 4. How about that? I don't know. I don't know if I'd rank this above Scream. Hard. Haven't seen it in 9 months, so can't remember what happened. Anyway,
But Monica, what movie are you ranking? Maybe above Scream.
This movie is Barbarian. And it came out in September, and it fucking slaps super hard unless you disagree, and I will fight either one of you if you disagree. But anyway, if you want to know what it's about, if you haven't seen it yet, well, okay, if you haven't seen this movie yet, do not listen to this podcast. You need to go into this shit blind. It is very important. I think it is deeply important to not know what is going to happen and just be slapped in the face by it. But if you have listened to that, this is your only chance. If you can only listen if you've watched the movie. Okay.
Honor
Turn
code.
back
Honor
now.
code.
Okay.
Be warned.
Are you pausing it if you haven't? Okay, good. All right, now that they're gone, thank God. Here's the IMDb description. A woman staying at an Airbnb discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. See, they don't spoil anything for you either. So actually would have been fine if I had read it when those other people were here.
But now, if you were faking earlier and you just pretended to leave, now you really have to go.
Bitch, get
No.
out.
Okay, don't be mean to them.
It was bitch parentheses
Lovingly.
positive or lovingly, not bitch
parentheses,
derogatory.
Affectionate, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
Derogatory.
But I was worried watching this again that it wouldn't slap, but it did. So
I hadn't seen it before now. And I would say from when it came out until maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, didn't see really anything about it, like no spoilers. And you were like, go into this blind. And I was like, okay. And then I feel like as soon as we put this on the schedule and stopped recording our last episode, I started seeing memes and tweets about it constantly.
no.
Not enough to really give anything away, but enough to have like me questioning what's going on. You know what I mean? I did see one TikTok earlier that I showed Sydney before we started recording of a girl who duetted a TikTok that was like, when you've just watched Barbarian. And do you know those videos where it's like they're making the ceramic bowls and they've got like the big rubber stamp that like presses, it looks like a titty, and it presses down on the pattern and then it presses onto the bowl.
My God.
I saw that, but obviously it couldn't have prepared me for what this movie was going to be.
No, it couldn't have. It couldn't have. That is, wow.
I was like, where's this going?
Dude,
That's
okay.
hilarious.
I was pissed off because after watching it at all, we have our OG spooky crew. And so I'm going to shout out someone in our OG spooky crew, but it's going to be a parentheses derogatory. It's not. But Lily, I didn't need you to say, don't watch the movie if you've got mommy issues, because even that was enough of something where I was like, what's this mommy thing gonna be? And I didn't want to have any thoughts. I want to have empty brain. So also, then I was thinking about it in that context, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
I
But yeah,
guess maybe if you have daddy issues, though, also don't watch.
yeah.
As somebody with both mommy and daddy issues, I had a good time with this movie.
You can compartmentalize, baby. Oh my God. I just think that this movie, like the way that they marketed it, because I'm such a trailer girly. Like I
Mhm.
watch every single trailer that ever happens ever. Whenever I go see a movie with Chelsea and Sydney, if she lived in the same state as me, I always say, oh, you're gonna love this trailer because I've seen every single one of them already, except for that one about the really bad looking exorcism movie. That one was a surprise and I hated seeing it. Anyway, I always know what's gonna be on the trailers as something I care about. They did such a good job of setting this up in such a spooky, creepy way that sets your expectations for this movie so they can just be ripped out from under you so much more effectively. I just think that the very first act of this movie, because if you haven't seen it yet, then turn it off. But if you want me to just continue talking, here I go. Is in like 3 acts, right? And
Story in 3 acts.
in 3 acts. And they're very, very jarringly different acts. And I think each one is so interesting and so cool. But the first one I think has got to be my favorite. I don't know. What about you guys?
The first part is my favorite. The second part is such a jarring switch that I was like, wait, what? And then the third part is even more of a jarring switch from the first.
I guess it's 4 parts, actually.
I would say it's 3 parts with an interlude. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't really count that as an equal weight part.
Would you say that the interlude is when we're introduced to AJ?
No, I would say the interlude is when the camera ratio shifts and we get the backstory.
Oh, that's a flashback. Yeah. Say interlude flashback. Okay, I see how you're looking at it. That makes sense. But yeah, that part's very, very jarring. But like this opening, I just read this article from the Hollywood Reporter that is an interview with the director, who I still didn't look up his whole deal, but it's Zach Krieger. How do we say his name?
I didn't read any articles, so I really don't know.
Oh, I don't know if you know. I just didn't know if you knew who he is or anything about him, because he is an actor as well. He's doing the full Danny McBride thing right now, where he's a comedy actor by day and a horror movie writer and director by night. So that's very exciting for them. And he wrote this entire movie from start to finish. And going into it, he said that he did not at all envision any actors like playing any of the roles, because like he wrote it and it didn't get picked up for hella long, and it was in like many different pieces for a bunch of time. But like Bill Skarsgård is the fucking perfect person to play Keith.
Yeah.
He is the perfect person,
Because
just
Bill
divine
Skarsgård
inspired casting.
is so sexy and yet so sinister, which makes him even more sexy.
Because he's so hot, but he's got something about his face that makes you go, oh my God.
Why are you
What does he have under his bed?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's incredible casting, because I think kind of all of I guess there's a lot more Skarsgårds than I'm actually familiar with, but of the Skarsgårds that I know, they kind of do have like a villain face to them. And they really put that to work when they're like, oh, this one's gonna play the vampire alternate love interest in True Blood, and this one's gonna play the evil clown in It. You know what I mean? Like literally,
but the daddy is
but
gonna play the lovely Bill in Mamma Mia 1 and 2. So not scary.
That's true. Just their kids, I guess.
And I also feel like it's Alex Skarsgård? Is his name Alex, the True Blood one? No?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yes,
yeah,
I think
he looks less evil to me. He looks more sexy. Something about Bill Skarsgård's big ass eyes make me think what's behind those eyes.
Yeah.
Bad, scary thoughts.
Gustav does.
I want to do bad things
does.
with you.
Well, it's just interesting because, like no matter how good someone is acting in a role, that you're gonna think about their past work while you're watching them on the screen. So they bring that baggage with them, whatever, their acting baggage with them. And like usually you want to forget what they've done before and you want to be taken away by the story, but like this plays into it so well. Like the fact that he was Pennywise makes
Yeah.
you not trust him even more. And there's even a quote in this movie that is so fucking on the nose when he's like, "What, do I look like a monster to you, to Tess?" And I'm like, "Yes, you played literally a monster in it." So yes, I was watching it with James last night. I literally paused the movie and I was like, "You think that's a joke about Pennywise? Like it has to be, right?"
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was an incredible business decision of a choice, because that whole, like you're saying, the whole first act is really what the trailer is built around, except for like the last few minutes of it. And it really wants you to not be sure if you can trust Keith or not. And the acting and the casting plays a huge role in that, where you're just like, and he's doing this like kind of bumbling thing where it's like, is he pretending, is he not pretending?
Yes. Oh my God, he bodied that.
His
I
whole
just
thing
like,
about the wine, it's like totally valid, but you're making such a point of it that now I feel like it's a distraction.
yeah, is this like a nice guy act or are you actually an incel and here to kill? Like, it could go
Mhm.
either way.
I was listening to another podcast, shout out to the Evolution of Horror, one of my faves. And he had the director like on doing an interview. So they're probably
Ooh.
saying the same thing that you were talking about in that Hollywood Reporter movie, because, same director giving a same thing. And he talks about how he read this book about how women need to like pick up on these tiny little red
Mhm.
flags that men give. Like, are these harmless interactions or are these more nefarious interactions? And then he went on to talk about, he was like, part of me like feels bad that I'm a man writing about this based off a book also written by a man telling
Mm.
women how they should be careful about men. But
That said, he did a great job of encapsulating that fear
well,
though.
but then he
Must
was
have been a good book.
he was talking about, he was like, you know what, fuck it, like I think men can write a feminist storyline, and I think he did a really good job, because that part of the movie made me so anxious and so just like on the tip of my toes. But also, ladies, if you are ever in this situation and you don't want to
Have a meet
like
cute.
have a meet cute, but also like if you need to like sleep in your car for any reason, find a hospital and sleep in a hospital parking lot. They will not tow you. The parking lots tend to be well lit. They'll just assume that like you're
Ooh,
waiting. Like, it is a good parking lot to actually sleep in your car with.
that is, hey,
Good
important
tip.
hints. Important tips here at Spooky Tuesday. That's really important. But okay, like back to what you were saying about like a man writing like a feminist story or writing something from a woman's perspective that has to have that sort of like nuance. Um look at this movie compared to Teeth, baby. I think he
Yeah.
did a little bit more of a nuanced job. So great job, boy. You did a great job, director and writer. Wow. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I also thought he looked like a stretched out version of Adam, and he loves jazz, but like a creepy version. And Adam loves jazz. So I was like, oh my God,
You were on
Does love
board.
jazz.
I
Yeah.
too would be drawn in by the jazz.
I think it's just, this is the dating app era. It's so tired. We all want to meet cute. I don't know about you guys, but I love to make new friends and have experiences. That
I
said,
love to
I
have
cannot.
experiences too.
Don't you? I think like a funny little story for later. You know what I mean? That said,
Shout out
there
to the
are
bagel
lives.
girl who gave Chelsea a free bagel.
A rosemary bagel, the flirtiest bagel.
Oh my, that is the flirtiest bagel.
Anyway, yeah, like I said, I love to have experiences. But like, would I stay overnight in an Airbnb? I don't know. I guess they set it up well where it's like you understand why she stays. You're like, okay, would I make the same choice? I don't know exactly, but I understand why she has decided to make this choice. Yeah, like they make you feel safe in the choice, even though you know something is going wrong, obviously, because it's a horror movie and maybe you saw the trailer.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, except for when she went to sleep without locking the door. I like, okay. But there was
She
that
wanted
weird
a
moment.
schmang.
She did. There was that moment right before he was leaving where she was kind of like looking at him expectantly to see if maybe he would like make a move, and he didn't, which I think was the right call. But I do think that was like where the hesitation maybe was coming from, is she just wasn't like totally sold on the like night being over necessarily, the interaction having ended for the evening. So she was leaving the door not open but unlocked physically and metaphorically. Unfortunately that also was maybe a mistake, because then
Well,
she had that
nothing
middle of the night
actually
wake up.
happens, but like
Actually happened.
but still it's fucking creepy as hell. Oh my god. It's just brilliantly crafted. It's so anxiety producing. The thing is, there's so many things that happen in this movie where I'm like, why did she do that? And then I'm like, I would do that, man. I think I would probably stay because I wouldn't want to go back out into the scary night. And I also think that if I was stuck in a fucking basement and I had nothing to do, I would look in the hallway. At first, I was like, no, I wouldn't. And then I was like, I could be real with myself. I recently went to Spain and explored a castle that was closed at midnight, and I was sure I would be
Yes.
murdered, but I was like, I gotta keep exploring. I went
I would-
into a weird cave covered in vines the other day. I could have gotten a disease at the very least. Anyway,
I don't have that issue. I'm like, I don't
You
want
sit
to
on your
know.
phone and wait.
Yeah, I'd be on my phone,
she
like
didn't have her
playing.
phone.
That's true. That's true. What
I
am I
didn't have
supposed to
her
do?
phone.
Entertain
So
myself with
what's
my
she supposed to
thoughts?
do?
Obviously, I'm going down the spooky tunnel. But you bring a shovel
What?
or something.
What would you do?
I would be playing with my split ends, obviously. What else would I do for like hours upon hours?
Classic Sydney.
It's not fair. It's not fair that I'm so dumb and I can recognize that. I just like
It's not fair that
adventures.
Monica has such luscious, healthy hair. She would never have a split end
Split
to sit
end.
and pick at.
That is so not true. My hair, I need a haircut so bad. It's literally desperately bad. I was just like working through a huge knot in the end like 5 seconds ago. So it's funny you say that. But yeah, it's hard to recognize that you're the dumb bitch, that you would be the dumb bitch. But in every single one of these, like we follow this like astrology thing that does like a different astrology for a different scenario, like every second. And anytime there's a horror movie one, the Aries dies first. And I was like, no. And then I was like, okay, fine. So, all right. Anyway,
Monica
Tess
always
and I
says
are the
I would
same
die
bitch.
first in a horror movie, but now she finally acknowledges it would be her.
I would die for that kind of a reason, but I would put up a hell of a good fight, okay?
Okay.
Monica
Maybe
would be Bill Skarsgård in this movie, quite frankly.
She made all of the right. I wouldn't have gone down the stairs. That's different. The hallway, one thing. The stairs, I don't know if I would have been like, he's calling for help. He obviously is hurt. I would have called 911 right then before
I think I would have been like,
went down the
he's
fucking
saying-
stairs.
He's saying go get help. He's saying call for help. He doesn't want me to come after him. He wants me to summon help. That's, I think, what he's actually requesting.
I would get more things before I went down there, and I would have already called for backup because
A
it's like,
shovel.
by the time we get down there, honey, he's 6'4" or some shit. How the fuck we're gonna get him back up the stairs? We can't. It's
Right.
not gonna happen. We need backup.
That is suspicious of him, though, to be 6'4", when IMDb trivia says that his license plate in the movie for Keith says he is 5'10". What's he hiding?
What
I
is
don't
he
know how tall he
hiding?
actually is. I just said 6'4", but
No,
he
he
gives
is
me.
6'4",
Is he 6'4"?
I think, or
Yeah.
in that range
No.
at least.
Do
Bill
I know that,
Skarsgård.
or do I
I
just like have
love
really
that.
great senses?
Depth perception.
I know. I don't. I definitely don't. Oh man. But okay, the other like really great reveal that I love in this first part of the story, I love when she first steps outside of the house in the morning and she sees
yeah.
the
Mm.
neighborhood that she was actually in. They did a really good job of like unfolding like the depth of like how she had fucking no clue where she was because it was so dark. And
And it
as
was
someone,
raining.
and it was raining, yeah. As someone who is grappling with the fact that I might have a darkness fear, I don't know. It was really dark the other day, and I was like, something seems wrong. I'm not gonna do well when the time changes. Uh, but I just like that's so scary that it's so dark that she'd have no fucking clue anything around her. Oh, that really
Yeah.
unsettled me.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and I watched a little bit of the beginning again, and like that as a reveal is great, but also just like the general setup is really wonderful. How they open on the house, especially paralleled with the interlude later on, the way that they like pan up from like almost underground to reveal the house, given that they're later going down into the basement and the spooky tunnels is really fun. Yeah, I mean, it is wild when they let you out onto the street for the first time in daylight.
Oh, so good. Um, Georgia is okay
I
Okay,
just
good.
saw.
right now.
I know. I
Yeah.
just got a
Alex
text.
just texted me the text. Sorry, I told Chelsea about it, and then I also didn't know what to talk about next, so I thought perfect. Oh, poor Sab.
Oh.
I feel so bad that she had to come home from her fucking trip. That sucks so bad, and I'm
I
so
know.
glad Georgie's okay. Okay, what do
Oh.
we want to talk about next?
But my favorite part of like we see like the shitty neighborhood that she's in, but then she goes to her job interview and she's telling the woman like, yeah, I was staying in this neighborhood, and
And
the girl was like,
Brightmoor. She's like,
even
girl,
the woman was like, are you okay? Like,
what
get
is wrong with you?
out. She's like, no, my house is really nice, and the woman is like, what?
The
And
house
she's like,
is really nice on the
the house
inside, to be
is
clear.
really nice, and but even she was like, and I have a roommate. Haha, like, okay, bestie, sure you do.
Also, why? What? Like that's weird. Like, oh, I'm in an Airbnb and I have a roommate. Like that's weird. When does
Well,
that happen?
Not everybody rents out the whole house on Airbnb. A lot of times you can Airbnb like just a room.
And that's how Airbnb like used to
That's
be.
true.
Originally, they would just rent out spare rooms.
I've done that before, but I don't know.
A
Roommate.
little awkward.
I'm gonna share a bed with a stranger. It's not a hostel. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I've done that.
I would share a
Nice.
bed with strange Bill Skarsgård any day. So
I probably
yeah,
wouldn't, but
I
I'm
would.
different.
in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
I
In a
would.
heartbeat. No questions asked. I'd be like, you can murder me after, but can I please have this one night?
Oh my god.
Don't get murdered, Sydney. Don't get murdered for one sexy quote man.
With Bill Skarsgård? Yes.
Don't get
ma'am.
murdered. Sydney, I'm giving you an instruction. I'm giving
I'm
you
not
a direction to
listening.
follow.
La 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 la
Oh
la
my
la la.
God. I am obviously in charge here, so you have to listen.
Well, okay. I mean, do you guys have anything else to say about the beginning section before we move on to how it that part concludes?
I did want to talk about the moment when the man, does he have a name?
Oh
The
yeah, that
Is it
unsheltered
Andre?
kid,
guy.
Andre? Yeah. When Andre runs
Andre.
up to chase her down the street to stop her from going in the house, like obviously in hindsight, I understand and I appreciate. I do feel his strategy was not sound in general, but also his choice of language. Little girl is not a comforting thing to call a woman that you are trying to help. I mean,
Nope.
you know, he's stressed. He's doing what he can. Obviously the situation is not ideal, but were I him, I maybe would have like a hey lady, even I think could have hit different. You know what I mean?
Excuse me,
Hey,
ma'am.
Lindsay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am. We would like to inform you about your car warranty.
Or like, you're not safe in there. Not just like, don't go in that house, maybe. You know what I mean?
Also,
Yeah.
this movie is unfortunately another ACAB movie. Fuck
Oh
all
my
of
God.
these useless cops.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started. We gotta get there first, because fuck that shit.
Well, but
Well,
there was
but
that
even
part
in
here
this
with there's
first
no
part-
units in the area. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, useless. Absolutely fucking useless. This has like the thesis is ACAB. In this in this film, I will prove. But yeah, I mean the conclusion of this one literally had me like almost on the floor when I saw this in the theater. When the mother comes and she grabs his head and just absolutely obliterates it. Just
Smacks
squishy,
it.
squishy goo goo coming out of there.
Woof.
It was awesome. It
She's so
fucking
strong.
slapped. It slapped so hard. It was spectacular. Ah, I felt like I've been slapped in the face. It was amazing. And then to go from that to the like long black screen. So you're just sitting there
Mhm.
with your feelings. And then all of a sudden it's like
Cheery
cruising down
music,
in
yeah.
Malibu. La da 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 da. And can I just say that Justin Long is a national treasure. He is a scream king, and his performance singing that song, Spectacular, it will win the Oscar.
He did do a great job. I did like him singing along. I had a lot of fun with that.
He's also a slight jump scare if you had no idea, like me, I had no idea that he was in this movie whatsoever.
So
That's
he's
so
in the
funny.
trailer for 5 seconds, and the reason I found out about this movie is because I follow Justin Long on Instagram. So
I don't.
that's how I knew.
I knew this was the Justin Long Airbnb movie, which is why I was so surprised to see Bill Skarsgård in the beginning. I was like, where does Justin Long come in? And
See,
then
I knew about Bill Skarsgård and no Justin Long.
Interesting. Interesting the things that we retain.
He's in the trailer for like 1 second at the very end, just looking scared, crawling on the ground.
I don't remember that.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, classic Justin. Also, having seen this movie and then immediately watched the trailer for Tusk, like the second after, I require that we do Tusk on this pod. And we'll all have a horrible time together because it's body horror, but it looks like it's funny and it's A24.
And we do love Justin Long.
And we do love Justin Long. But it's another fun casting choice here. And I have a good quote from the director. With Justin Long, you know, like we're saying, they come with their acting baggage. Justin Long is like so freaking lovable. He's just like such a sweetie Petey. Everybody loves him, and he's like known for being a nice guy. So the fact that he was cast as this horrible fucking piece of shit scumbag
And plays it
Like-
so well.
so well, and like I don't know, I mean obviously believe women, but you don't want to believe that like this main guy that you're gonna have to deal with is gonna be like this horrible rapist the whole time. You're like, why are we following this character? But like just watching hit that whole section as it like becomes clearer and clearer how fucked up this situation is and how bad of a guy he is and how he has really no remorse at all. Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up the casting because apparently Zach Kreger, we said, or we're guessing, but apparently the director offered the role to Zac Efron first, which is like such a different take on that character almost. And Efron turned it down, and then it said like maybe they retooled the role a little. So I don't know if it originally looked any different on the page than what we see here with Justin Long. But yeah, I mean, it for me, I don't want to get too far into the movie yet, but for me, from the beginning, as soon as they were like allegations against him, I was like, okay, fuck this guy. But what I was interested in is the moment after the interlude, after he sees one of the videotapes where he does like a moment of self-reflection, only for it to, you know what I mean? That was what I thought was really interesting. The way that you see him in the aftermath of that later, like immediately rewriting things in his head. He's got this, it's so clear that he's like, I'm a good guy, therefore whatever I have done must have been good. It couldn't have been bad
Exactly.
because I'm not a bad guy. Like he's so
I'm not like him.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
like-
not like that guy. Am I? And then for one moment he really considers it and then he goes, no, couldn't be. Couldn't be me.
No, when push comes to shove, literally he shoves, you know, like
Mhm.
so not a good guy at all. But they do a good job of making you think, and also
For
because
a
it's Justin
moment.
Long,
And then
because
he answers
Justin
the
Long,
phone.
you're like, oh, maybe he like will like learn something and something good will happen with him. No, no,
At
but
what
we'll get
point
there.
does he answer the phone and say the F slur?
Oh, when that's actually so funny.
He hangs up on his
Right after the
mommy and
covenant.
daddy.
No, he hangs up with his mom and she's like, blah, blah, blah. Like, when are we going to see you? It's been so long. And he's like, I don't know. It's such a long way to Detroit. Meanwhile, he's
Even though he's
in Detroit.
literally this
And then
bitch.
he calls his homie and he's like, what up?
No, like he's like hangs up on his mom because his friend is calling. He's like, sorry, I have to take this, mom. As she's saying, I love you. Like it gets cut off. And he's like, what's up, F slur?
Are we only doing movies where they say the F slur for all of November? Is that
Yeah,
the
that's actually
theme?
the theme. Yeah.
Ring to it.
F slur November. Hey guys, we'd like to introduce the theme for November. Halloween's over. Now it's time for F slur November. It just rolls
You
off the
guys
tongue.
had Halloween. Your time has passed.
Yeah, we decided we're gonna not be like a fun queer pod anymore. We're gonna be
reclaiming the
a
term,
homophobic pod now
okay?
from moving forward. Yeah, this is true. But we're not gonna say it this episode, so Sydney doesn't have to go bleep.
Thank
You hear that bleep
thank
last
you.
episode? That was really good. Great bleep. It was really beautiful. But AJ really is the dumbest bitch like on earth because like when you're accused of a crime, Hunty, you do not immediately fly out of state. Like you cannot do that. That is like you're in the film business. Have you ever watched a movie? Like that happens all the time.
And he calls her and he's like, I'm actually not even mad at you about it. Okay, what a saint. What an angel. He's so forgiving and generous. Oh my God. Like, shut up.
Oh my god. Well, that's skipping to the after the bar part. The bar part's like the worst thing I've ever heard. His homie, the F slur homie, was like, tell me what actually happened. Don't worry, I'll believe you.
Is
And he
that
just,
the
like,
guy?
Describes rape in detail, you know? And he's like, but it was fine. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I want to get into the real life similar stories, but there is like a celebrity one that comes to mind that didn't go quite that far, but was like, well, but if you convince them, are you just a scumbag or are you a rapist? And I don't know. I just don't even believe his version of events, obviously, because he's a fucking liar, and we see that he's a liar. And we see again at the end the way he'll rewrite the narrative within fucking seconds to be like, actually, it must have been something that was fine, that was okay to do because I'm a guy who's nice. And so it couldn't have been that bad, even though we literally watched it with our own eyes. Yeah, he's such a bitch. He's such a bitch.
He's such a bitch. But I will say the funniest part of this fucking movie is him discovering the scary torture hallway and the scary torture room smeared with blood with a spooky camera. And he's like, more square footage on this home. I can
He
make more
Googles-
money.
Can underground rooms be listed as square footage when selling home? And he just keeps Googling until he gets one that says they usually can't be. And he goes, usually can't be.
My
That
favorite
means
part
sometimes they
was
can
when,
be.
like, he gets into the house and he's like, have people been staying here? like blah 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 blah. Like, what is this? And then he looks at her laptop and he's like, okay, Tessa, types in like one outrageously long password. It doesn't work, gives up, tosses the laptop. And I think,
Tosses.
y'all remember when Justin Long used to be in the Apple Mac commercials? I want to say that that's a nice, fun
Oh,
little
yeah.
Oh my
homage.
god. Oh my god.
That's funny.
He fucking frisbees that thing. Oh my god. I
Yeah.
just love that it's all about the tape measure though.
Yeah,
Like, he
the tape
goes
measure
down
is that bitch.
All the way. He sees this never-ending staircase. He's like, wow, 9 feet. And like the reason he realizes he's not alone down there is because someone's like tugging on the tape measure. Like, it's so fucking funny. It's so good.
He literally is so unbothered by the cages that he finds that he again just starts measuring that room. Like,
seriously. And God, and then once we do find that our main bitch Tess is still alive, which was a excitingly positive jump scare.
mhm.
They just chose really, really great times for all the cuts. Like, I
Yeah.
thought that they
I
were
will
so
say-
brilliant and so jarring.
I was a little confused by this cut at first.
Definitely.
In hindsight, I recognize the house. In hindsight, I recognize the aspect ratio shift was to show you like this is a different era. But I almost felt like, are they showing us the pilot that he shot? Maybe like I felt like we were being shown a story within a story, which I guess arguably we were. Like that is what it was doing. But the aspect ratio shift confused me. Like it felt like it was like within, like I didn't know if I could trust what I was seeing at first or if I was watching something that was like fictional within the fictional movie, you know what I mean? But I put it together soon enough.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to like confuse you at first, but then it slowly unfolds. You understand what's happening because then he turns on the radio. You hear they're talking about Reagan. So you're like, okay, this is in the past. It's not just everybody dressed
I think-
up.
Yeah.
And then like it becomes clearer and clearer.
I think when he bought the breastfeeding tape at the store after Justin Long had seen the breastfeeding tape playing on the TV down in the basement, that was when I was really like, oh, okay, so this is the guy setting up his tunnel system. This is him building out his little human trafficking dungeon.
How lovely. But
He really did a one-stop shop at that grocery store. He got his plastic sheets, he got diapers, he got a breastfeeding tape, and he picked the lady that would be going home with him later.
He got it all done. I thought it was really, really interesting because in reading this Hollywood Reporter article, he talks about the inspiration for that movie. And there's this 83 movie. It's an Austrian film called Angst. And they use what's called a snorri cam, Lord knows, where it's mounted to you and like follows you around. And so it's like sort of like a similar thing. Like another thing we haven't talked about that much is like the cool stuff they do, like all the interesting
They do a lot
shots
of
that they
good
do
camera
throughout.
work. Yeah.
Great camera work. So this entire sequence is on a steady cam and you're just like following Frank around wherever he goes. And I love that they switched it to 12 millimeter lens and like made it the different aspect ratio. Like it has like this otherworldly like dream sequence kind of feel to it. But it's such like horrifying like content once you realize what's going on. I don't know, I liked that juxtaposition. But something that really makes me love Zach Kreger or Krieger. I think it's Kreger.
I think
Even
it's
more. I think it's Kreger. It feels like Kreger to me.
Feels like Kreger to me.
It has the word egg in it, so it's got to be Kreger. I think that he's a good old boy. A good old boy is a bad thing. He's a good boy. I'm sorry, good old boy. I forgot that is a thing for Republicans or something. I'm so
It's
sorry.
just a
I was
Southern
just trying to
term
be
for saying,
fancy
like, a
and it
nice
went the wrong
man.
way. okay, then he's a good old boy, depending on how you define it. Because there's like all these people being like, are you going to do? And I think they're inspired by X and Ty West, like how he's doing these prequels and sequels to the X story. So now they're like, oh, when are we going to get the prequel
Now that
about this
everything is
Barbarian
franchised.
story?
Mhm.
And he's like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to watch a movie where it's just a man abducting women and then incest babying them for
Yeah.
eternity to create this monster. Like, we don't really need to see that now, do we? And thank you, sir. I don't want to see that. And I probably would have had to be able to be on this podcast. So thank you for not fucking making it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you guys are familiar with the very small side characters in Game of Thrones, but it's a very much like Craster and his wives situation with that guy, where they're living isolated, they're living remote, they're kind of a self-contained community because he just keeps using the same pool of people to create more people, and then those people create more people. Which does raise the question. Craster was like leaving his sons out in the snow to get got. Were there? I don't actually need to know what happened that left only one person down in these tunnels with Frank. But I am curious.
Yeah.
I do want to know, like, where did
There's-
Keith's body go, for example? You know what I mean?
There's additional details in the article that are
Oh.
horrifying.
Ooh.
Like there's like they're obviously like he doesn't think that like the intent of Frank was to make children, but he just like had 1,000 million women that he abducted just based on all those videotapes that we fucking see.
Uh-huh.
So that was like an inevitability, and so like there must have quote been something about this one that made him want to keep her alive, because how would the baby survive otherwise? So it's just some part of the horrible origin story that I never want to see. Let's keep some things a mystery.
Yeah, I mean the implication of the tapes is not that this is just like one long branch in the family tree. There's obviously
One
redhead from
just
gas
says
station is not going to
pregnant.
be of the family tree. She's from the gas station.
Ah.
Hate it.
There's one that says Chelsea.
Oh my God,
Is
good
there?
thing your
There is. I
name's-
noticed
Oh my
it last
God.
night.
So
I
excited.
know.
I noticed bad nosebleeder. Yeah, good thing my
Oh,
name
yeah.
is Chi
It
Dog.
didn't say cheat. Thank God it didn't say cheat dog.
Thank God it didn't.
Could you
He didn't
imagine
even
if
have
it
a
said
cootie.
cheat dog?
He's not allowed.
Oh my God. Oh man. Would you guys have the age-old question? If put in the cage and you meet Tess and she's telling you what to do,
Yes.
would you have sucked on the nipple?
Oh, 100% yes. She's
The
been down
hairy ass
here.
nipple.
She knows how to survive. I trust her. And also, I don't see a good alternative.
This woman has superhuman strength, okay?
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna
he,
suck on the nipple if we have
yeah,
to.
if you don't drink from the bottle, she'll put you on the organic nipple. And that
Yeah,
seems worse to me.
the real nipple. She has big oles, by the way. Is she breastfeeding? I am just
She's
so
a
horrified.
large lady.
She's a large
I don't think
lady.
she's really breastfeeding.
I wanna
think
know
she's just
why.
acting out what she sees on the tape.
One, a couple things.
Yeah.
Why is breastfeeding?
Yeah.
Sure. Know what I mean? Like, why are we I get mother's milk, but also like, ugh. You know?
Why breastfeeding
No,
exists?
but
Is
just,
that the
like-
question? I don't understand what the
I don't
question
know.
is.
I just think it's weird in the movie context. I get it, but also like
It's there to make you feel
yeah,
real
but
bad, and
also
did it?
just like
Seems like yes, based on your
Oh, no.
reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inherently a little spooky in this way.
Just
As
a
an
bit.
The idea of breastfeeding as an adult is a little inherently spooky. The idea of being forcefully fed from a bottle or the source, a little spooky. The idea of having to play baby to this person who is, I mean, honestly, the subtitles literally call her the creature. Like, she is obviously human, but also she's so big and she's
How'd
so
she get so
strong and
big?
she's so scary.
So gray.
How did she get so big? Literally, you'd think living underground
Inbreeding.
would make you smaller and weaker.
No, she gets out at night. She
She
can
does
go
get out
wherever
at
she
night.
wants at night.
That's my other question. Sorry to jump around. She comes out at night in Act 1, we're assuming, because that's who opened Tessa's door, we're assuming, and that's who closes the door in the back. Is she out to come get people? Is she taking people from the Airbnb? Is she coming out to get supplies, and that's how they're self-sustaining down in the tunnels? Like, what was her vibe?
She's doing whatever she wants, you know?
She
She's
loves to
like, I gotta
explore.
do my night stalk,
Uh-huh.
walk around. That's how she got so fucking swole. 'cause
That's how
she's
she
out
got so big and
running
strong.
all night, finding whatever she can. She's lifting cars. She's doing whatever she could possibly want.
One of those tapes just says like
No.
bodybuilder.
It's
Yeah, she has the
absolutely a
breastfeeding one
Jane
and the bodybuilding
Fonda,
one, and
like,
those are the only two.
aerobicize movie.
Mm.
I mean, it's
That
from the
would be
80s, so that makes sense.
very
It's
funny
time
and
period
horrible.
appropriate.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
makes sense. It really does.
And
make
we don't know
sense.
how long he's been doing this. Like, I kind of interpreted that initial scene as like he was first setting things up, but actually something Monica said made me think,
No.
oh, no way. That's been going on for a while. He just like had someone down there who was about to get birth. He wasn't prepping for the lady who took later. That just was a bonus.
He already had someone down there, because the last little bit of that section, he opens the door. He goes into his house and it's very cutely decorated. I love it.
Screaming.
And opens up the back door and you hear blood curdling screams coming from there. And he hasn't gotten the lady yet. He had just gotten back from her house and opened her window. So he's already got somebody down there. He's just planning his next gal as well.
Woof.
He
I wrote
said-
woof so many times in my notes.
I took notes up until Justin Long got onto the screen, and then I never.
No, me, I
looked at my
never
phone
take
again
notes.
'cause I was too
We're just out here on
enraptured.
Yeah, there's-
All vibes.
I just checked. There's 5 woofs in my notes.
Woof woof woof. Did you do the finder thing?
Yeah.
Let's
My first
type in
one
wolf.
is for the 911 call where they said we don't have any available units. My second woof is for Hollywood Reporter breaking the story about Justin Long, which is so funny, as we were noting earlier before we started recording, because the main article you read was Hollywood Reporter.
Also, the name of the show is Chip Off the Block.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's a terrible name.
My third woof came immediately after when he said, I'm gonna ruin this fucking bitch, about the woman who accused him. Woof number 4 is when he said she just took some convincing is all. And then woof
Woof.
number 5 is all the way at the end.
Bad wolves
My
all
second
around.
to last note before the
Negative
credit
wolves.
song. Because the
Negative
credit song
wolves.
was a
It's
banger,
too
but I don't
fun.
want to
No.
jump ahead. I won't.
We're not
I
there
won't.
yet.
I
Oh my god. Okay. So we're talking about how AJ's a piece of shit. Also, okay, AJ's a piece of shit. Tess rightfully leaves him because she has to escape.
I wouldn't have
But
gone
like,
back.
She
She
goes
goes
back.
back.
Not me.
I'm coming back for you, baby. You don't need to come back for AJ. And this is where the actual bad cop part happens.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that he's a rapist. She just thinks he's a guy.
I know.
She's a
I know,
nice
but
lady.
I also would
Yeah.
not re-enter the fray knowing what was down there. But
Yeah.
she did think she killed that bitch. So
Yeah.
I get it. Those cops suck so bad. So they just thought that she was like on crack or something.
They thought
right?
she was like unstable and like her report
So-
was not representative of reality.
That's
And
so
I think-
terrifying. That's so terrifying. So if you just like look disheveled.
Yeah.
They're just gonna not fucking believe anything you say. That's terrible.
It
Why
is
does
really,
she
really
look
terrible.
disheveled?
Unfortunately, there was like a recent news story also about people reporting like women going missing in an area and reports of like a serial killer in the area, and those were totally ignored basically. And then even when they caught a woman escaped and then they caught the actual guy and there was a real serial killer in the area, and the police were just like, okay, yes, people reported it to us before, but like we maintain that there was not any reason to believe them. And it's like, okay, well, how about the fact that it was real and they were right? So have you considered that even a little bit?
Have you considered that you're a fucking dumb bitch? Have you thought about that for a second? God,
I thought they
fucking damn
did
it.
a good job setting up why the police would dismiss her story. But at the same time, come on.
How so? Because I thought it was, when I remember watching it in the theater, I remember being like, this seems a little like they're like so flippant, but is it because of the area or something?
It's because of the
So fucked
area.
up.
I mean, it's there's no one there other than this one house. There's no one who really is living there. She looks like she's been sleeping on the street. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that they were right to do that. Obviously they were not right to do that, but if she were like in her fresh work clothes looking like a professional woman who just came from a job interview, you know, I think that they might perceive her differently.
So they just
They just
are
suck.
fucking
Yeah.
horrible people who
They're just
hate
like,
unhoused folk.
we
Sounds
have
like
other
every
things to
cop.
deal with. There's gunshots over on Maine or whatever. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think that part was just so fucked up and so sad, but I do love that like it left her back at the house at twilight or like at dusk. Like you can see that the light this has taken so long that like it's night, and we already know from our guy Andre that like she comes out at night, and
she ain't even the worst thing in there.
oh, that was a good little lead in to AJ's discovery. Let's talk for 1 second about how AJ meets one man one time who lives in a tunnel, who's all gross and scary and is listening to Hawaiian music all the time. The Hawaiian music was nice. It was lovely, actually. But he immediately is like, this is a friend, not a foe. This man who even the mother is scared of and slowly backs away from must be a chill dude because he's a guy.
Yeah. I literally put
AJ.
in my notes, oh, suddenly now AJ feels safe.
Oh, huh. Everything about the situation said bad, not good.
Well,
and
he was
said,
like,
man,
"Oh look,
friend,
it's me in a different font."
It's
Idiot.
literally not until he watches the tape does he go, something funny is going on here.
That man just drank water that was fully yellow, and you think this is
Yes,
a
he
normal
does, 'cause he's
situation?
stupid.
Well, he doesn't think it's normal. He thinks that
He doesn't have it's like in The Love Witch when the guy is in the car with Elaine and she's like, drink this, and he's just like, okay, I'm going to a remote location with a woman I've never met before. She's offering me a mysterious substance. I have no reason to question this because I have not been socialized to have to keep myself safe.
It's like the exact conversation that Keith and Tess had at the beginning of this movie. They talk about exactly this, where she's like, when I came in, I was terrified and I had my guard up. If it had been the other way around, one, I never would have fucking let you in. But even if I did, you would have been like, okay, here I come. La, 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 la. Let's talk about jazz. Like, it would have been completely different. None of the bells
Probably
would have gone
not.
off. Or maybe
I mean,
some, but not as many.
Yeah, even with the human trafficking room, like Keith tried to be like, I didn't see it, and that's why I'm not as scared as you. Please don't write off my lack of fear. I just haven't seen what you've seen. If I was staying somewhere, even under normal Airbnb roommate circumstances, and they were like, I discovered a scary dungeon room that only has a bed and
Right,
a bucket
I would
and a
not need
camera,
to
I would
see
be out of
that.
there so fast. You could not get me to go explore. I do not need to see it for myself. I trust you that there's a scary sex dungeon in there. I would like to leave, please.
I would probably want to see it, but I wouldn't not believe you because I hadn't seen it. I would have said, "You're right. You go sit in the car, have it running, and I'm going to go look at this thing." No, I wouldn't go by myself. No, I'd get halfway down the stairs. I'd look down the hallway. I'd be like, "Fuck this." And then I'd come back. But if it had been the time before, like we were talking about, I would have gone down there. If I didn't know there was a blood bucket. See, here's the other thing. No shame to Tess. But like you got to talk about how there's blood handprint on the wall and a blood soaked mattress and all that part. She left out a lot of the blood details.
It
think the
gives it a
blood
little
details make
jazz,
it a
you
little
know?
more sinister. Very important to say. A
But
little
he
jazz. And he loves
still-
jazz. We know about this. Come to him where he lives. Speak to him about the jazz.
He was still unbothered by that room, though. He went further down the tunnel after that fact. Unless we're led to believe that the mother was like hiding somewhere in the basement at that point and he walked past her without seeing and then was chased further down, which I don't think is the case.
Maybe he's
He's-
an Aries man and he too wanted to discover the treasure. Discover the hallway. Oh, man. It's hard to be dumb. But
Yeah.
it happens.
But my God, the fact that she went back for him and then he immediately shoots her.
He was going to shoot her. That was so, I was like, she's going to get shot right now. And if she just is dead, I'm going to be so mad. At least she didn't just immediately die. I was
But
like,
that
is that going to
was-
be the next jump cut?
Yeah, that shot when he comes out with the gun after taking it from the old guy after he kills himself, that was a great shot as it's like, that's what's in focus coming into the frame. I thought that was one
Yeah.
of the best ones.
That was really good. That was really good. Oh, and this whole final segment is so it's just nonstop fucked horror shit. Like God. And such good. Oh man, I love the gory stuff when it's fun like this. Like this movie has enough levity for me to see the most fucked up thing I've ever seen before and not feel like I'm gonna die. Like I have to have a little bit of levity to
Sure.
make me be able to handle it. That's the perfect movie for me. But one, okay. Here's the thing about our guy Andre, played by James Butler. He just like is so good at just like adding spooky ambiance to it, and he's also just great at being such a nice, sweet man trying to help people, even though they're dumb fucking idiots, and he's just living his life. And he loses his life just because he helped some dumb fucking idiots. It's not fair.
The fact
Um,
that she Kool-Aid mans through the wall, just as he said,
Which is
she
so
never
funny.
comes over here. We're totally safe. She's never
That-
been here before.
It was so funny. And then she literally like smashes his head kind of right and rips his arm off and beats him to death with his
Beats him
arm.
with his own arm.
It was awesome. I didn't want it to happen to him, but it was so funny. It was so awesome.
But yeah, I mean that was the scene though, because it was like he had Justin Long, AJ, had this whole experience with this woman on the pilot and been like, fuck this bitch, she's a lying hoe, etc., etc. Yeah, she said no, but she wanted it by the end. Then he watches this tape and then he's having this moment where he says, Andre says it doesn't matter whose fault it is because they're talking about shooting Tess, and he's reflecting and he's like, it does matter. I hurt somebody. It matters. And for 1 second you think, this bitch gonna change? This bitch doing self-reflection for real? No. They get chased up the
No.
water tower and
Well,
he
he's
says,
the one who decides to go up there.
And then
'cause
he
he's a
drops the
stupid
gun.
fucker.
he
Oh
fumbles
my
the
God.
gun.
He's
he
literally useless.
I didn't let me look at the quote. She wants us, she's gonna get us. She's never gonna stop. ... I can get away, but you're gonna have to slow her down. And then he pushes her. The way the mother swan dives off the
That's because
end
Tess
right
is a
after
little
her, my
baby.
God. the way she ends up underneath Tess, like mommy caught baby mid-air and did like a little flip. That's a dedicated mommy. She's a good mommy.
This movie
She
does
is a wonderful mommy.
well.
To girls, maybe not. Well, I do have a discussion question at one point, like why did Keith get immediately smashed and Justin was offered
Maybe
the bottle?
because-
You know what I mean?
Or Keith was 6'4".
He was making too much noise.
I think he kind of looked like Frank a little
Pennywise
bit,
the
maybe.
clown.
Oh, well, maybe that too. I think maybe he
She's
kind of,
seen it, so
Yeah.
she knew he was
he
sus.
definitely looks more like Frank than AJ does, at the very least. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Curious.
I think like probably when she bit him, there was some sort of altercation that made her think that's
Mm.
not baby. That's bad
That's
boy.
not baby. I tried and
Rude.
he didn't want to be baby.
So he has to
But
be
also,
killed.
I love
Yeah.
I just read a book that has similar themes to this movie. I literally finished it today, but if you're interested in horror about mothers and mothers of different kinds and weird mother things, if you have mommy issues and want to read a horror book about it, it's called Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. And I don't know, I feel like it's a great companion piece to the movie Barbarian. Different, but very similar. Anyway, what were you going to say, Sydney?
I love that in this movie, like when we're first introduced to Mother, like we're scared of her. We're like, we don't know this. And then kind of like in the middle, we're like, okay, like Mother is being weird, but like what is going on? And then, we see Frank's backstory. We get to meet Frank, and then she swan dives off to save Tess because it's her baby.
To save
Like she's
baby.
been through this like horrible experience
baby.
and her like desperate need or want to like take care of something and like be a mother. Oh, and then Tess shoots her.
It was like a mercy kill.
No, she's a sympathetic character. She's
Yeah.
a sympathetic character. She's sympathetic because she has the capacity to love and take care of people, but she also is this like thing, she's a human, but she's got a lot of business going down, and super strength and the like. But like
the fact that she can tear a man's head in half with her hands.
It's just sexy.
I love that about her. Well, I mean, that's part of this article. Like, that's what the director said. He was like, if this movie ended and you saw the mother character die and you were like, hell yeah, then I failed. Like, he wanted us to feel like shit.
Yeah, that's my final woof.
Feel like shit.
Mhm. That got the last woof. I mean, I think that's also that's what we've been alluding to, by the way, the whole time when Justin Long pushes her, where he immediately is like, and then discovers she's still alive at the bottom. He says, I didn't even let go. You started to slip. She didn't slip. You weren't holding on to her at any point. You literally shoved her over the edge. But yeah, I mean, the fact that mommy ended up underneath Tess, the fact that she swan dived after her, the fact that Andre gave us her whole backstory of being like, you have a baby with someone and then you grow up and you have a baby with that baby. He says it's like a copy of a copy of a copy. Like, you understand how someone gets to this point in complete isolation for the most part, living mostly underground, living without really any human interaction other than maybe the whole Belle thing with Frank down there. Like, I have to imagine it's so that he can have the mother like bring things to him, because he's clearly not capable of taking care of himself anymore. Like, messy.
It's super
of course,
messy.
You should be sad. If you don't feel sad, the director's absolutely right. What movie were you watching?
And also, like, she has her one final act of love for Tess, where she fucking kills the shit out of AJ and gushes his eyes out of his head, and they come out like goopy applesauce.
Good for you, girl.
She just breaks it open, his head.
It's so awesome. I was so waiting for his absolutely gruesome death, and like, it was, yeah, it reached the level that I needed it to reach. So 10 out of 10. But it's just so sad. She's like, "It's time to go back. Let's go back. Let's go home." She's like, "No," but and then she knows. It's like she knows that she has to die too, kind of, I guess, because she just lets Tess shoot her in the head. Oh God, it's so
Yeah.
sad. This movie is awesome.
But then it cuts to the credit song, and it's like,
Be
be
my-
my little baby.
See,
Mhm.
for
My
me,
little
as a
darling.
lover of the oldies, the first second that the song started, I knew which song it was. So I was like, ha 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 ha. But I watched James sit there all the way until the chorus.
Did he
and
not
got the
know?
joke? And I was like, isn't it funny, James? He did think it was very funny though. So
Did James not immediately
That
know?
was good.
James. Unacceptable.
And I loved
Yeah.
the way that there's the gunshot, the ending moment, it cuts to the credits, but then you still get glimpses of her like walking away after.
yeah.
Like a nice little cool down. You still get that jarring cut, which really emphasizes that moment, but it doesn't like leave you with that alone. You still get the like, it's not a triumphant walk away, but it is like the walk of survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she will
He's
continue
like-
on in her life.
We've done the hard cuts enough times in this film. We'll ease you into the end of the film. Oh my god, this fucking movie. Okay, all right. What brings us to our segments? How could this movie be gayer?
When Tessa said that her ex was a man, I was like, that's a lesbian.
That's at least a bisexual.
But I guess she needs to have the chemistry with Bill. Yeah, so she can be bisexual.
She can be bisexual
Because you couldn't make Bill into a woman, or obviously the dynamics
No.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
the same. He has to be a
No, it
guy.
has to.
And
it
that's the
ha-
thing,
he
like
to be a
AJ
guy,
has
and he
to be
Bill
a man
Skarsgård.
too. The allegations against AJ could have been from a man.
Horrible. But yeah,
Let's make the sexual assault
Oh,
gay.
let's
That's
make it a gay assault.
how empowering.
Representation, baby.
Yes. I told you it's F slur November.
He calls his run the F slur. That's gay.
F slur November is
That's
off to a
representation.
smashing start. It's going wonderfully. Everyone loves
Yeah.
the new theme. We haven't
mean-
done a theme month since Doll month, but we're back with F slur November.
Arguably, I think you could make Tess a non-binary person, or possibly a gay man, or a trans man, possibly, or a trans woman. You know what I mean? Like kind of anywhere in the LGBTQ plus spectrum, I think could work to have someone be like on the edge and aware and like more cognizant of their surroundings and trying to listen to their instincts.
Yeah.
Like I think that would transfer.
I
liked
think
Tessa.
that the themes of like, I don't know, the parallels of that and the parallels of the sexual assault, I think are rather poignant, but there's a way to still make that as poignant, even if you change the gender of Tessa's character. Yeah, I mean, I don't want any gay people to go through this, so that's fine. You never know what's going on with Mother. If
Maybe
she
the
gets one
neighbor who
other
was
video, she could learn a whole bunch about herself.
Andre could be gay.
Andre could be gay. I love Andre. Okay, well that brings us to where would Maddie Lily fit into this film? And he can't be Keith because Keith is too good at being Keith. Okay, so sorry.
Mhm. He could be the neighbor that says, "Aren't you moving? The neighborhood's going to shit" in the 80s flashback.
He could be the financial planner who drops AJ
Oh.
because he
Ooh.
sucks.
That would be a good. Or I know
The wealth management guy.
I know her
Yeah.
boss was like, or the movie director was a woman, but I think Matthew Lillard could have been the movie director as well.
The documentarian. Mhm.
Yeah. That would be great. Just his
He could have
voice.
been the gas station employee.
Oh yeah, he could have been the
Just a
lawyer
quick
who's like,
glance
you
at him.
left the state. I don't know if that was his lawyer.
But you
it
want to
felt like
know
it
what
was.
he could not be? One of the cops.
What? No.
He would
we-
never.
We're not doing that to him.
No.
We're not doing that
He
to
would
us.
never. Also,
No, I would never put no.
Mhm.
I can't hate the man that I love. Come on. Come on. Can't ask me that. Okay. That brings us to Dumb Bitch. And it's a shockingly close call between Frank and AJ. Shocking, but it's close. I think that AJ is like more like dumb, like classic dumb. Like he dropped the gun, you know.
Frank knows who he is. AJ lies to himself about who he is.
Yeah. So Frank is smarter because he's like, I'm a psychopath, and that's just what I am. And I'm doubling down and creating a series of tunnels. And that's smart to make tunnels, you know?
He's an engineer.
He's an engineer. So he is actually kind of smart. He's terrible. But AJ is dumb. His show sounds dumb. He's a bad, ugly rapist, and he calls his friends the F slur for fun. So I don't know. Okay, the tides have turned.
I'm willing to give it to AJ. I'll give it to AJ. I think there's enough dumb bitch to go around. You know what
Right.
I mean? But I'll give it to AJ.
I agree. Everybody makes their mistakes in this movie, but he is the worst big piece of shit,
Mm-hmm.
human turd of them all.
Well, he's the biggest dumb bitch of them all.
He's the biggest dumb bitch of them all. Sorry, human shaped turd of them all. That's what I was saying.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, that brings us to our knives out of fives. And this has been critically well received, has it not?
It really has been. I mean, I guess I'm not like shocked because it was an enjoyable film and I thought there was a lot of good technical stuff in there, but it has a 92% fresh from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, which strikes me as pretty high. From audiences, it has 70% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and then on IMDb, it has a 7.2 out of 10, which is kind of similar. So critics did like it a little more than audiences. I will say, I feel like I've been seeing so much buzz about it lately that like people are just gonna keep talking about it for a little while longer now that it's like streaming at home. You know what I mean, and not just in theaters.
Yeah. We've actually had a lot of listener requests for this movie, and all of them came like in the last couple of weeks, like not in the first bit of it coming out. So I think now that it's on streaming, a lot more people are seeing it. I mean, I can go first if y'all
Sure.
don't. I fucking love this movie. This is a 5 out of 5 knives for me. I love it for the reason I love any new movie that is inventive. Like it's doing
Mhm.
something really, really different. Yeah, obviously there are similar tropes. We've had killers before. We've had inbred people before. Oh god. But it like did a really good job of like bringing in some like modern horror story elements that you wouldn't necessarily think of. The Airbnb aspect of it, like,
Mhm.
oh, what if you are double booked? That's a horror story in and of itself. Like, and it didn't have too much social media, so I think that maybe that'll be good for Sydney's review later, but we'll see.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But I don't know. I love that it took such risks too. Like I think that something I didn't get into when we were doing the actual pod part before this part, this was not picked up for a really long time because people fucking hated the big changes between the story throughout. They're like, you can't introduce a brand new character on page 50 of a script. We can't have 30 pages that's just about a horrible fucking rapist. Like there's just like all these things about it that people didn't like because they thought that it'd be too jarring, but like it came together like so well. And I think that Zach Kreger really like took his time with this one. Like when he first even was writing this story, who was the bad guy? It was going to be Keith. When he first started with the first thing, it was going to be Keith. And then he was like, well, everybody's going to think it's going to be Keith. And then he had this crazy idea where he's like, what if a crazy woman comes out of nowhere and smashes his head to pieces? And then he's like, wait, well, now it's just a short story. It's not long enough to be a movie. It took him a really long time to put all these pieces together. But then once he did, it's like this great hodgepodge. It's like 3 movies in one. And I like all 3 of them. And I'm glad he doesn't want to do prequel because I don't want to see that. I don't know. I loved it. The casting, everything. The monster design was really, really cool. Like the mother looked really cool. The deaths fucking slapped. They were fucking horrible. Oh, I don't know. 5 out of 5. It had everything I'm looking for. Just funny enough and just fucked enough where I went home with a smile on my face.
Jesus.
And I still slept well.
I actually have no idea what I want to rate this movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like I liked it, but I don't know that I'll like still be thinking about it necessarily. I thought it was good. I thought it did a good job. There were a lot of times where I was like, "Oh, I really like the camera work here. I really like this cut." Like I really was like appreciating the technical aspects of the film that I was watching it. One of the standouts to me was in the beginning, when she's walking inside the house for the first time and it like fades to black as she disappears into the doorway, as that like the camera pans on the screen and then it brings us the title sequence. I thought that one was really incredibly done. The shift at the end of Act 1 to the Malibu driving was like a really incredible cut. The gun, when Justin Long is wielding the gun, I thought was really interesting to watch. And I really liked the parallels, and I feel like what it was trying to say about rape culture and these men who will immediately excuse themselves and whatever they might have done, and maybe in one moment they'll go, and am I a bad person? But then they'll go, oh, but I'm not like that guy. And maybe for one moment they'll go, but I've caused harm regardless of whatever my intentions were. Is there anything that can be done for that? Is that excusable? But it's like, if you're not going to meaningfully change, then having the moment of awareness and self-reflection really doesn't do anything for anybody. So like, okay,
Totally.
so what?
Put your money where your mouth is, baby. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess rating wise, I'll have to see how I feel if I'm still thinking about it in like a week. But Sydney, have any thoughts percolated? Do you want to go, or should I just spit something out?
I really like the first part of this movie, and then like I kind of get lost in the second half of the movie. Like there's like some parts that I really like, but I like the shift for me just like it doesn't sit right for whatever reason. Like I like the monster and I like the other one. Like it does feel like 3 different stories that like all come together, but like isn't.
You were losing momentum, it sounds
and
like.
it wasn't scary. Like
Sure.
like I was shocked when I first, because I saw it in theaters at first, and then I was like, what the fuck? But it was more of like, what the fuck, where did this come from? Like, not, know what I mean? Like, it's super original, super like batshit off the rails, but I don't know how I feel about it, you know? And especially watching it a second time. Like it didn't clarify my feelings about this movie. So I truly have no idea, because I liked watching it, but I don't know how I feel about it.
Do you want to give it a probationary rating? Do you want to abstain from rating?
Everyone abstains except for me, and then it gets a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
No, I'll give it a rating, but
3.5 out of 5.
3.5. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll probably give it higher than that, because I did like the different versions of storytelling. I liked the slow reveal that AJ was relevant to the story because he was the owner of the Airbnb. I thought that was an interesting way to bring him into the story. I thought it was a really interesting way to parallel these two narratives. I thought that having this Airbnb
and
out
to
in
show
the middle
passage of time of how long it's been since like what we last saw. I thought that was cool.
To have the Airbnb out in the middle of nowhere that Justin Long has presumably never even seen before in his life. It's just part of his portfolio. And then because he's like at risk, he's like, okay, I guess I'll go out there for the very first time. And oh my gosh, I've got even more land than you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was a really interesting way to circle back to that story when presumably, I don't know. I mean, you'd think that someone, and if I don't know if people are going missing all the time from this Airbnb, but presumably no, or someone would have picked up on it at some point. But I thought it was a good way to like loop back at a later date and to give us like a fresh perspective on things, sort of, as opposed to like a new guest. You know what I mean? I thought it was a really well constructed story and movie. I just don't know yet if it's gonna like stick with me meaningfully. So I'll probably give it like a 4.5 for now.
Hell yeah, I accept.
I'm so glad it meets your approval.
Well, I wasn't gonna fight either of you guys, but
you were a little bit prepared to fight.
I want everyone to like the same things as me. So when we never
get
agree, it grates on my soul.
I think we meaningfully agree about a lot of the things here, though.
Yeah. No, I know. See, look, I'm being fine about it. It's totally fine.
You're being so normal.
I'm
So
being
brave
totally
about
normal
it,
about it
guys.
here to celebrate Effler November.
Essler November. I don't think we have an Essler in our next movie, though. Sad. We'll have to edit
Oh,
one in
no.
ourselves.
We'll make one. Don't worry. We'll do it.
Sydney, what is our next movie? Let the good people
Our
know.
next movie be maybe the horniest movie that we have ever watched. And we've watched Twilight.
It certainly worked on me.
I know.
This is hornier than Twilight.
Much hornier than Twilight, but it is also a vampire movie. And it is a movie that we all just watched in theater together. Is very important, and that is Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992.
Spooky.
It is quite the experience. If you can find a large screen for it, watch it there so you can really see real big Gary Oldman's face. Gary Oldsman, that's his new name. But just to see all that detail, all that Keanu. I mean, it's got Keanu, it's got Gary, it's got Winona. Several
She's
other
really
hotties
cute.
that I don't know their names. Like,
whoever
if you
plays
haven't seen
Lucy.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time I saw it,
Classic.
so I am excited to revisit it again in an environment possibly more conducive
Paying
to
attention.
paying attention. But
So
it
where
was
you don't
really
have me like
cool.
whispering jokes every 5 seconds because I'm pretty.
Or
line drunk.
Monica just going
It was cool.
in a quiet theater.
Monica did giggle at one point really, really loud. And
Or Adam just knocking over plastic wine cups every 5 seconds because he's lost his vampire tooth. Yeah.
I mean, it was fun in a crowd. It was fun on a big screen.
But yeah, that's gonna be a really fun one, and it feels right for
Essler November.
Maybe
For
It
Essler
feels-
November.
This is our worst joke yet, but we won't stop. Like, it's like this is the part where we laugh the most this episode, but I cannot make this a social post or we will be
know,
canceled on TikTok. we will, the Puritans will kill us, okay?
They're out in force.
Oh my God. Anyway, if you want to not mention the theme of the month in a 5-star review, that would actually be ideal. But yeah, give us a 5-star review, write a haiku, write something else. Follow us on social media at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Spooky Tuesday Pod on Tumblr and Facebook, and at Spooky Tuesday on Letterboxd. And one day we'll make another YouTube video. And if you subscribe now, you'll be the first to know. Many, many options for content. Thank you for listening.
Bye, Spookies. So glad you're having a good time with Essler November.
God
Yay!
Jesus.
Don't you see? She just wants you to be her baby.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.